Our today's speaker is CA Asim Trivedi ji and CA Ranjit Kumar Agarwal. CA Asim Trivedi ji is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is chairman and managing director of Asim Trivedi Consulting Services Private Limited. He has vast experience in the field of Companies Act, internal audit, accounting, and auditing standards, and currently working in training and implementation of IFRS and New Companies Act 2013. Friends, Mr. Trivedi is a nationwide faculty and he is for corporate and allied laws auditing India's IFRS. He had delivered more than 500 seminars on ICI platform. He is recognized national speaker on the topic of company law, accounting and auditing standards, and IFRS and Companies Act in the national, international, and regional conferences of ICI. Friends, he is also an author and he has authored many books, including audit for CA students on auditing and assurance, advanced auditing and professional ethics, company law, accounting standards, and Indias. He has a vast contribution on for the ICI Indore branch. He holds post of treasurer, secretary, and vice chairman of Indore branch of CIRC of ICI. As well as friends, he has contribution for ICI at New Delhi also, being member of task force to revise expert advisory opinions in 2000, leader of task force to revise guidance note on bank audit 2005, co-opted member of the CASLB under Accounting Standard Board 2006, leader of team for reviewing the Ind AS Hindi versions in 2011-12, member of task force to decide Ind AS for small and medium sized companies 2015-16, and appointed as coordinator of group constituted to revise Code of Ethics 2009 by Ethical Standard Board of ICI 2017. Last but not the least, friends, he is also appointed as faculty for FDP of Code of Ethics by ESB of ICI in 1920 and conducted residence workshops for members in all regional councils of India. With these words, friends, I request all to join me in offering a flower bouquet to Mr. Trivedi. This is for you, Trivedi sir.
Virtual flower, sir.
रंजीत भाई है ना, कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Friends, sir, today's next speaker is Miss Arun C. Ranjit Kumar Agarwal. Ranjit ji is a practicing chartered accountant since last 20 years, a company secretary also, and DISA from ICI. He is a partner in NRSM and associate since last 20 years. He has lot of achievements, but I am telling few only, which are when he was chairman of the EIRC in the year 2013-14, EIRC was awarded the Best Regional Council Award. As far as Central Council is concerned, he is elected to the 23rd Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the term 2016 to 2019. And with the love and affection and his hard work, friends, he is re-elected for the term in 2019 to 2021. Again, last year being chairman of the Professional Development Committee of Bank Audit Software, conceptualized and implemented UDI as chairman of PTC, a landmark reform of ICI. Presently convener of group constituted to implemented UDI concept in all SAARC countries, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Maldives. As a chairman of Ethical Standard Board of ICI in 2019, revised the Code of Ethics after a gap of 10 years. Currently convener of UDIM Directorate, chairman of Capital Market Investor Protection Committee, chairman of Tax Audit Quality Review Board. These are all professional introduction of Mr. Agarwal, but on a social front, he is equally active, friends. He is attached with Lions Club, he is attached with Bada Bazaar Library, JCI, Kolkata Police, Traffic Warden, Friends of Tribal Societies. These are written introduction received to me, but as per my personal experience, I would like to add with the permission of today's chairman that being a CCM or at the time of regional council, he is dedicated for members and whatever if you take to him, he have a solution for that at his personal level. Thank you so much. With these words, I request all present here to please join me to welcome Ranjit ji with this flower bouquets. This is for you, Ranjit ji.
Welcome, sir.
So Ranjit ji, floor is all yours. You can start with your deliberations.
Shyam, please mute all.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I think the screen share has to be stopped, no?
Shyam, please make co-host to Ranjit Agrawal ji.
Yeah, I've made him already. Ranjit, any problem?
एक मिनट,
Sir, you
ये
can
आने
minimize
का है।
this.
Okay, so it is visible now.
Sir, 1 second. It's not visible now. Still Zoom is showing. I'll stop once. You again, please start resharing.
Okay.
स्क्रीन शेयर एक बार और कर लीजिए रंजीत भैया.
इसमें आ क्यों नहीं रहा है?
श्याम, एक बार इनको होस्ट बना दोगे क्या?
मतलब जो मेरे पास है वही उनके पास भी है, वो आराम से कर सकते हैं.
हाँ, वो तो हाँ, को-होस्ट में भी शेयरिंग कर सकते हैं रंजीत जी आप.
No, no,
भैया
I am
नहीं कर पा रहे हैं
sharing,
क्या?
but it is not coming.
मैं आपको होस्ट बना देता हूँ, 1 सेकंड. मैंने बना दिया. प्लीज ट्राई नाउ.
आ रहा है क्या?
नहीं भैया, अभी नहीं आया.
नहीं आ रहा.
Okay, let the Asim ji start. I can join later. Let the Asim ji please start.
रंजीत जी, प्लीज मेक को-होस्ट टू श्याम जी.
I'm already co-host. No problem.
Okay.
Asim, you can start. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good evening to all of you, and thank you, Ranjit Bhai, to extend my orbit from Central India to Eastern region. I think in this whole year, I have been in almost all big seminars of EIRC. So, अब ऐसा लग रहा है that whether I am a member of CIRC or EIRC, but yes, we all are member of ICAI. Now, thank you, Ranjit Bhai, giving opportunity to me to address this wonderful gathering again. As far as code of ethics is there, Ranjit Bhai, as a chairman, Ethical Standard Board, had taken a lot of pains to bring out these 2 volumes of these code of ethics. Last year, he worked hard for this, and wherever in whatever meeting he takes charge, I think he gives his best, and the best thing which he is the turning point of our profession, I must say, is the Udin. And we all in central India and rest of the India known him as a father of Udin. So thank you EIRC for giving such a wonderful council member to our country, who is turning this whole profession into a new dimension. And last year, he devised one creative thinking out of his out of box thinking. He started with ethical standard training program. We have in past seen refresher course for accounting, refresher course for auditing, refresher course for taxation, refresher course for uh, GST, but never ever we have seen residential refresher courses for ethics. And he had 5 macro programs where we had training programs relating to code of ethics. And I have been very much fortunate to attend all the programs as a trainer. And he made me a different kind of a speaker. I was speaking on company law, I was speaking on accounting standard, I was speaking on Ind AS. But from last 1.5 years, I'm only speaking on code of ethics. Thanks to Ranjit Bhai. Now, let's start with uh, deliberations for today. We have Code of Ethics revised. This revised Code of Ethics came into 3 books. The first book, which contains the ISBA Code of Ethics, that is called Volume 1. Second volume contains the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, and the third volume contains case laws. In 2006, Chartered Accountants Act had been thoroughly revised. In 2009, we introduced ISBA code to the Code of Ethics, that is called Ethical Standard Board. Code of, that is International Ethical Standard Board's Code of Ethics. As we are a partnering country to that particular entity called IFAC, we need to comply with all the international codes also. But the practical problem with us is we have Chartered Accountants Act 1949, and we have defined our Code of Ethics in accordance with the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. What are the do's and what are the don'ts for chartered accountant as a professional? We have compiled them into a Code of Ethics, which was way back issued in 70s, 60s and 70s, mid 60s and 70s. So that particular Code of Ethics now is being aligned with the International Code of Ethics, but still the alignment has so many statutory problems, because changing anything into the Chartered Accountants Act 1949 needs a parliamentary approval. So for that, there is a problem always. So in such case, now still we are aligning, and that's why आप देख रहे हैं कि जो अभी नया Code of Ethics आया उसके अंदर भी piecemeal applicable हो रहा है. That means part B is applicable completely, but part A, there are certain clauses which we have still some doubt that they might not go along with our fundamental quality policy or fundamental practice structure of the firms. So we deferred it, as a council has deferred those certain provisions under that particular act, under that particular code. But still, there are various things which are important in learning that what is the revised Code of Ethics exactly. So 2009 Code of Ethics and 2019 Code of Ethics, I'm taking care of. This NOCLAR has been somewhat deferred, and that's why I'm not taking. Rotation and all that, these all are part 1 problems. And part 1 problems, we have certain points जो हमारे जो normal entities हैं. I will focus my all presentation taking into account the mid-size firms and small size firms. No doubt whatever I'm talking is applicable to big size firms also. but we will have our talk relating to code. We will have firstly confined over the small kind of entities. Whatever we will talk about, we'll talk about the small level entities. Now there is one thing which came out in this code of ethics, and that is whether a chartered accountant firm assume a management responsibilities for an audit client. See, we are conducting audit. Whenever we are conducting audit, our clients asks us to give more services. अब सब जब क्लाइंट, हमने भी प्रैक्टिस शुरू की, क्लाइंट ने अपना बिजनेस शुरू किया, हम भी नए नए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट थे, क्लाइंट भी अपनी फील्ड में नया था, वो धीरे धीरे बड़ा हुआ, हमने सबको बोला, उसको बोला कि अब तुम्हारा बिजनेस बड़ा हो गया है, अब तुम यू जस्ट पार्टनरशिप फर्म बनाओ। उसने पार्टनरशिप फर्म बनाई। पार्टनरशिप फर्म के बाद हमने कहा कि भाई अब लेट्स डू वन थिंग, दैट यू मस्ट गो विथ प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी। ही मेड प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी। थोड़े दिन बाद ही बिकेम लिमिटेड कंपनी। तो ऐसे भी कई क्लाइंट हैं जो प्रोप्राइटरशिप से शुरू हुए थे और आज प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी में है या एलएलपी में है, और वो एक ही बंदे को जानते हैं, और वो है हम। चाहे कंपनी लॉ का काम हो, चाहे इनकम टैक्स का काम हो, चाहे जीएसटी का काम हो, कोई भी काम हो, वो सीधे हमारे पास आते हैं और कहते हैं साहब ये आप ही को करें। नाउ द प्रॉब्लम इज कि ही इज आवर ऑडिट क्लाइंट, और वो चाहता है कि हम उसके अकाउंटिंग भी कर दें। वो चाहता है हम उसके बिहाफ पे डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट्स भी बना दें। वो चाहता है हम उसके बिहाफ पे फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट पूरे बना दें। वो सब कुछ चाहता है। इज वेरी डिमांडिंग। क्या करें? तो शुरू से वो हमारे साथ रहा है। नाउ दिस शुरू से साथ रहा है is called familiarity threat in terms of this new code of ethics. This is A, part A I'm talking about. They say so. Sorry. If you have this kind of an attitude that the client is asking us to provide services, accounting services, sir, if you are a company, your client is a company, section 144 does not allow certain services neither to that company nor to its holding company nor to its subsidiary. There are certain services which are prohibited for an auditor under the company. Sir, I am not doing company audit. I am doing tax audit of a company. I am not statutory auditor of that company. I am just doing tax audit of that company. Sir, whatever it is. If you are doing tax audit of that entity, your section 288 of Income Tax Act 1961 clearly mentions that whatever the qualifications and disqualifications are there under Companies Act, as it is applicable for the tax auditors. Sir, I am not doing tax audit. I am doing tax audit of a partnership concern. I am doing tax audit of a limited liability partnership concern. I am doing a tax audit of a proprietor. There it is not written under the act that he can do this, he can do that. There I don't think these are the independent stringencies are there. But sir, if you go to section 288 and rule according to that, what are the qualifications and disqualifications of a tax auditor? You will amaze to see that whatever given under the Companies Act has been replicated either or other manner there under section 288 of Income Tax Act 1961. just because these international codes are in force. So the most common violation we observe many a times in council is under the tax audit, because we always observe the necessities of company law, but somehow we are not aware about the disqualifications and qualifications of tax audit. That's why in this volume number 2, I insisted to Ethical Standard Board that we must include these rules which are given under the Income Tax Act, that what are the qualifications and disqualifications of a tax audit. So we have included a complete page in this particular, complete 3 pages, I think, in this volume 2, that we must know what are the qualifications and disqualifications of a tax audit. And whatever independence we are following a criteria, because institute in one of the cases, High Court in one of the cases has decided that auditor's independence cannot have a different parameter according to different statute. If auditor is not independent in one circumstances, he can't be said that in the same circumstances he is not independent in one act. If in one act he is independent, so you can't say that in other act he is not independent. Or in other act he is not independent, you can't say that in this act he is independent. Independent cannot change colors. Independence is a state of mind where the auditor feels free. So that is important essence behind whatever I'm going to talk right now. If client comes to you and says, सर आप अब हमारा बैलेंस शीट भी देख रहे हो, P&L भी देख रहे हो, सर आप ही अकाउंटिंग करो और आप ही ऑडिट करो, we would strongly recommend that we can't do that, because there is called a self-review threat. Whatever I have done, I cannot review the same, because one cannot find discrepancies in his own creation. One cannot find discrepancies in his own creation. So it is very clear that I am not going to audit the same what I have done, because it is prohibited under Income Tax Act also, it is prohibited under Companies Act also. Even it is not prohibited under any specific law, like a cooperative society in Kolkata or like a Society Act in Kolkata. They don't prescribe this kind of disqualification, but we should obey Code of Ethics, which says that you should refrain from obtaining any self-review threat. Second thing, देखिए ऐसा है, जब तक चीजें सही तब तक बिल्कुल सही, और जहां चीजें गलत है तो फिर इस इंडिया में जो मीडिया ट्रायल होता है वो आप इस वक्त देख रहे हैं कि मीडिया ट्रायल किसको कहते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हम एक पार्टनरशिप कंसर्न के पिछले 40 साल से ऑडिटर. आप मेरी बात समझिएगा. When you are associated with an entity for 40 years, and if that entity, for God's sake, they did something wrong, and enforcement directorate took an action against them, the first finger will be pointed out towards that particular owner, and the second finger will be pointed out towards the auditor. And now auditor can't say that I don't know, I was not familiar about it. They would say, sir, you are since 40 years you are the auditor, and that 40 years loyalty with the client will go against you in the court. The thing which we treat as a loyalty towards customer, for an auditor there is no loyalty. for an auditor, your independence was at a stake when you were 40 years in the same firm. Sir, where law says so? Sir, law says so is different matter. But just tell me, if there is something wrong in an entity where since 40 years you are auditor, how can you prove in the court that I did not have any familiarity threat while I was conducting an audit? Because internationally it is known as familiarity threat. So simple. So ethics has no boundaries. You can't say that कंपनीज एक्ट में कहा लिखा है मैं तो कर लेता हूं. देखिए जी, कंपनीज एक्ट में तो ये भी नहीं लिखा है कि एक्स एम्प्लॉय ऑडिटर नहीं हो सकता. आप एग्जांपल ले लीजिए, सेक्शन 141 सबसेक्शन 3 clause B talks about an employee and officer of the company cannot become auditor. I said I'm not current employee. I said I'm ex-employee. Last year I left that company. This year I have joined that company as an auditor. Or a reverse case. Last year I was partner of the audit firm which was conducting audit in that entity, and now I left the firm and went into that particular company as a director. In both cases, if something went wrong, you will be the suspicious person who will be catcalled for any irregularities that you have familiarity issue with this entity. So, though Companies Act never says us that do not join a company after leaving the service, but it is our own ethics that we should not join an audit firm by leaving that company and going as an auditor in that company again, where I was an employee over there. So ethics has no boundaries. Independence cannot be defined particularly for an act. That's why we have defined in Code of Ethics. That's called independence. So independence can face threats from familiarity, which I have mentioned, from self-review, which I have mentioned. The third thing which comes very interestingly as a threat, that sir, मेरा client मुझको कह रहा है आप जो मेरा फाइनेंस भी करवा दो. वेरी गुड. आप पार्टनरशिप फर्म हो? यस. आप मुझे हर साल 15,000 रुपीज का ऑडिट फीस देते हो? यस. कितने करोड़ का फाइनेंस है? He says somehow 20-25 crores. What would be the fees I am going to earn? Definitely 2.5 lakhs rupees or whatever it is. Okay. If I am earning 3 lakh rupees out of the finance outsourcing services to that fellow, and I am signing an audit report in rupees 15,000, and each year either this work or that work is offered to me, where the total fees provided by that entity is always greater than whatever fees they are paying to me for audit. Now tell me, if something went wrong someday, how can you prove your independence? How can you prove your innocence? Arthur Anderson couldn't prove their innocence in WorldCom case. Who are we right now? A firm has been eliminated from the world map because of just one reason, that they were compromising with their integrity as alleged because they were signing the financial statement of the entity to whom they were giving accounting services also, and giving lot of services where the total fees which they received from that particular client was much more than the audit fees. So everybody pointed a finger that you are not independent, sir. How can you sign a balance sheet by having this much income other than audit from the same client? So don't you think that these all independence criteria and all are only applicable to private limited company? They are basically, they are applicable to private limited company. They are also applicable to this. So the soul of the whole act, which is part A, is only one. That is called independence. How much dependence you have on your client, that is another matter which is right now deferred. For example, my total fees of my firm is around 50 lakhs, 80 lakhs, whatever the figure you want to have. For example, 80 lakhs rupees. Out of 80 lakhs rupees, you are earning 40 lakhs rupees from a group itself. How can we say that you are not dependent on client? 40%, 50% of your fees is coming from a single group where you are a statutory auditor. That itself gives a rise to intimidation threat. That auditor, if you give qualification, next year you will not be here, and this much revenue will be out of your firm. So all these are there for what? Independence. तो अब कोई भी क्वेश्चन आता है, सर मैं उसी की अकाउंटिंग कर लूं, ना करें, फैमिलियरिटी थ्रेट, मैं उसकी फाइनेंसिंग कर लूं, ना करें, बिकॉज इट इज अ सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट थ्रेट, सर मैं उसी ग्रुप पे डोमिनेंटली मैं उसी ग्रुप में काम करूंगा, नो सर, इट विल कम एज एन इंटिमिडेशन थ्रेट एंड सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट थ्रेट. Sir, I want to represent the client before tax authority. The same client of which I have conducted audit, and the tax audit report had been denied by the, had been not considered whatever I have written in tax audit by the income tax officer. And the matter is before appellate tribunal. Now see, you are a proprietor. You have signed an audit report of your client. Assessing officer had added various things into it, and the matter is before appeal. Now he says, sir, आप मेरे को अपील भी लड़ लीजिए. I said, yes, we can. अब बताइए, मैं अपने उसी क्लाइंट को जब अपीलेट अथॉरिटी के सामने जाके रिप्रेजेंट करूंगा, सो अपीलेट अथॉरिटी मुझको बोलेगी कि सर आपका जो भी व्यू था वो हमने एज एन ऑडिटर देख लिया, हमारे असेसिंग ऑफिसर ने भी एज एन ऑडिटर देख लिया, है ना. अब डिपार्टमेंट को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए जो बंदा है वो तो है, आपको रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए बंदा कौन, आपको तो अलाउ नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि आप तो अपनी रिपोर्ट के फेवर में ही बोलोगे ना. आप वो कैसे बोल सकते हो जो रिपोर्ट में लिखा है कि वो उसको आप डिफेंड कर सकते हो? आप तो वही प्रूव करोगे जो सही है. और दूसरी बात, अगर आपने यहाँ प्रूव कर दिया कि ये सही है, तो नेक्स्ट ईयर भी आपको ऑडिट करना है, तो आप वापस जाके उसी असर्शन को जो यहाँ आपने प्रूव किया है, आपकी मजबूरी हो जाएगी वो गलत हो या सही, आपको अगले साल वापस रिपोर्ट पे लेना पड़ेगा. सो इंटरनेशनल क्राइटेरिया है कि एडवोकेसी थ्रेट आ जाती है जब आप अपने ही क्लाइंट को रिप्रेजेंट करते. अब इन थ्रेट्स को एड्रेस करने के लिए उन्होंने अलग अलग तरीके दे दिए. दे हैव गिवन डिफरेंट methodologies to address these threats. They said, अगर आपकी फीस 15% से ज्यादा है, अभी वो क्राइटेरिया बाद में आएगा, अभी पर आएगा वो समाह, कि अगर आपकी फीस 15% से ज्यादा है, टोटल फीस का 15% एक पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप से आ रहा है, तो आप उस क्लाइंट को डिक्लेयर करो। पहली बात तो मैनेजमेंट एंड दोस्त शेयर विद गवर्नेंस को डिक्लेयर करो कि हमारा रेवेन्यू का 15% और मोर आपके यहाँ से आ रहा है, स्टिल वी आर इंडिपेंडेंट। सेकेंड थिंग, वी हैव इन आवर फर्म EQCR, that is quality control review in the firm itself. हमारे यहाँ एक्सटर्नल क्वालिटी कंट्रोल रिव्यू भी होता है, जहां पे बाहर वाला आकर हमारा क्वालिटी कंट्रोल देखता है। तो वो क्वालिटी कंट्रोल जब हमारा चल रहा है तो इंडिपेंडेंस कहीं हमको अफेक्ट नहीं डालेगी। दैट इज कॉल्ड, that is known as what? Addressing the threats. How we address these threats. तो ये एक बात हुई ethics की, that is about independence. दूसरा, maximum जो client जो छोटी firms में, ये तो था part A. Now I come to part B. I'm not running through slides because I'm very much comfortable to talking to you about various points relating to in code of ethics. So taxation services to audit client can we give? We can give taxation services to audit client provided tax representation before appellate authority we would not give, unless हमारी फर्म एक बड़ी फर्म है जिसका टैक्स डिवीजन अलग है और ऑडिट डिवीजन अलग है, और ऑडिट डिवीजन जो है वो ऑडिट करता है और टैक्स डिवीजन जो है वो टैक्स करता है, और टैक्स डिवीजन और ऑडिट डिवीजन एक दूसरे की एडवोकेसी नहीं कर रहे, तो आपको टैक्स सर्विसेज क्लाइंट को दे सकते। जीएसटी प्रिपरेशन में उसके लिए कर सकते, जिस बंदे का मैं ऑडिट कर रहा हूं उसके लिए जीएसटी रिटर्न प्रिपरेशन में कर सकता, लेकिन जीएसटी की लाइबिलिटी कैलकुलेट भी मैं ही करूं, जीएसटी का कैलकुलेशन भी मैं ही करूं, और जीएसटीआर 9C भी मैं ही ऑडिट करूं। ये कैसे संभव है बताइए? जीएसटी भी निकालें हम, जीएसटी कंप्यूट हम करें, जीएसटी की एक्सेल शीट हमारे यहाँ बने, जीएसटी का सब कुछ हमारे यहाँ हो, जीएसटी की रिटर्न भी हम ही फाइल करें, और फिर जीएसटीआर 9C भी हम ही फाइल करें, तो लोग कहेंगे तो सेल्फ रिव्यू थ्रेट है सर, आप ही ने बनाया, आप ही ने किया। That's a point where we are heading towards. Gifts and hospitality I am not taking. Fees I have taken. That fees can affect the client. But now I am coming into volume 2, which is very important. Volume 2 contains, kindly alarm me that my time is there, because बात चलते चलते ऐसा नहीं हो जाए कि अपना टाइम कहीं कोई हो जाए। और आप चैट पर कोई भी क्वेश्चन जो आपको लगता है, यू कैन आस्क मी डायरेक्टली ऑन चैट, आई विल आंसर एंड एड्रेस दैट इशू, बट आई एम टेकिंग द relevant issues which are really important from the point of view of small and medium practitioners. One thing which is very, very problematic, and that is about tendering. Let's have some talk on tender. Can a chartered accountant in practice fill tenders? Depends. Tender क्यों है? Sir, tender is for a service which can only be given by chartered accountant in practice. So, sir, if the tender is for such a domain, such a practice, which is exclusive domain of chartered accountants, our institute say, do not fill that tender unless and until minimum fees has been prescribed. अगर टेंडर में मिनिमम फीस प्रिस्क्राइब्ड नहीं है, आपको उस टेंडर को फिल नहीं करना है, which is only for the chartered accountant in practice, which is only for the chartered accountant in practice, the work which is only can be done by chartered accountant in practice, like societies audit, like tax audit of a partnership firm, like tax audit of an LLP, like tax audit of a company, like company audit. These all services can be exclusively be given by chartered accountant in practice, unless and until they will not going to define that what is minimum prescribed fees. We should not respond to the tender. Okay. Sir, they are calling profiles for internal audit, where a chartered accountant, company secretary, cost and work accountant can all can apply. Sir, you fill that tender. So minimum fees is not prescribed. No problem, madam. You just fill that tender. Sir, they have sent tender. They've called tender from chartered accountants only for those services which can be given by chartered accountant as well as non-chartered accountant. No problem at all. You just fill that tender. The prohibition is only where the work which is going to be allotted through that tender can only be done by chartered accountant in practice, and minimum fees is not prescribed. You cannot fill tender. Rest in all cases you can fill. No problem at all. But in our country, whenever the rules are being made, we are the smart chartered accountants. We have one step ahead than institute. In New Delhi, Ranjit bhai, I shared once with you also. In New Delhi, when we had that particular seminar, once again I had a seminar where the Anuj bhai had that particular meeting for Code of Ethics. In that, one lady from Ghaziabad, I must say, yeah, she brought into our attention one very peculiar kind of matter. And that matter, what she brought into our notices, sir, there was a tender. Tender was prescribing the minimum fees. We all have filled that particular tender, but that tender had been offered to one of the firm from Noida. When under R2I, we asked for the basis on which that particular work has been allotted to that firm. To our surprise, we came to know that chartered accountant firm which got that particular work has quoted a fees lower than the minimum fees which is prescribed in the tender. Now what's that? हम यहाँ काउंसिल में बैठकर दिन भर दिमाग लगाकर रंजीत भाई जैसे लोग जो है वो नियम बना रहे, और हमारे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट जो है वो काउंसिल के बाहर बैठकर उस पर डबल दिमाग लगाकर नियमों से कैसे निकलना वो निकाल रहे। तो ऐसे अगर चलते रहेंगे तो काउंसिल की पूरी एनर्जी से किसी तरह से वेस्ट होती रहेगी कि आप क्या करें। अब जब दूसरी बार कोड ऑफ एथिक्स रिवाइज होने आया तो मैंने कहा जी एक लाइन डाल दो इसमें कि if a chartered accountant quotes fees lower than what is prescribed in the tender, it would be a misconduct. Otherwise इसकी तो आत्मा ही खत्म हो जाएगी कोड, क्योंकि कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं, फिर तो मिनिमम फीस वाला क्राइटेरिया हम लाए क्यों। तो अब उस पर मंथन चल रहा है, करना क्या। अब ये तो जब हम सेमिनार लेते हैं और वहां से बातें उठती है तो पता चलता such kind of wonders can be created by chartered accountants. They are not chartered accountants, they are creative accountants. Marvelous. बोला आपका कोड भी बचा रह गया, आपका टेंडर का सर्कुलर भी बचा रह गया, और हमने काम भी लिख दिया। So it's not so. जाना तो पड़ेगा, बचाना तो पड़ेगा, नहीं तो प्रोफेशन कहाँ जाएगा। Then one thing which is very important from the point of view of members, which I want to brought to their attention, is clause number 8. That is the most important clause which affects all of us day and night. Members oftenly use a word NOC, no objection certificate, over which I have a strict objection. There is nothing called NOC. NOC नाम की कोई चीज है नहीं. नहीं सर, क्लॉज 8 में बोला गया है चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स एक्ट में that we must get NOC. No sir, it is never ever an intention of the council to bind you in the clauses of NOC. Sir, clause 8 clearly mentions that a chartered accountant in practice, while accepting audit, shall first communicate to the predecessor in writing about his appointment. You have to communicate to the predecessor in writing. And further explanation says that you should communicate in writing through registered acknowledgement post. Now, lot of water flown in the river in times. We have new IT revolution where letters lost their importance. Envelopes, stamps, letter, we can't find them in this world fit for communication. We have email, we have portals. So in that e-governance kind of era, that particular approval which was required through registered acknowledgement post was giving hurdles. So institute came out with some amendments, and the amendments are that you can communicate through email over the last registered email address of the member, and that member should give acknowledgement of email that I have received your communication. And Ranjit Bhai is working on UDIN also, that the NOC can be generated by UDIN. He may update us that what happened to that particular point where from UDIN we can communicate each other. But it is strictly communication. It's a letter which we sent to our predecessor that we have accepted the audit of so and so entity. Do you have any professional or other reason for us not to take up such assignment? If you have any such reason, professional or other reason, kindly let us know within 7 days. If no communication is from your side, we would assume that there is no objection to you. Now say, objection क्या लेगा आदमी? Tell me one thing. NOC नहीं है, NOC नहीं है. Objection क्या लेगा आदमी? मेरी undisputed fees pending. Okay, तो हम उसके undisputed fees pending करवा के अपॉइंटमेंट ले लेंगे. मेरा अपॉइंटमेंट कंपनीज एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंगली नहीं है. ओके, अगर आपका अपॉइंटमेंट कंपनीज एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंगली नहीं है तो लेट अस इट बी इन अकॉर्डेंस विद द कंपनीज एक्ट, देन ओनली वी विल एक्सेप्ट द अपॉइंटमेंट. डोंट टेक अप दैट असाइनमेंट क्योंकि मैं क्वालिफाइड ऑडिटर को बोलता है कि मैं किसी और से करवा लूंगा. देखो सर, अब क्वालिफाइड ऑडिट रिपोर्ट आप दे रहे थे कि मैं दूं, बात तो एक ही. अब मैं क्वालिफिकेशन दूं या ना दूं ये मेरा प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट है. आप क्वालिफिकेशन दे रहे थे, नहीं दे रहे थे, वो आपका प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट था. तो ये तो कोई रीजन नहीं हुआ मेरे लिए कि मैं ऑडिट एक्सेप्ट ही ना करूं. हाँ, 2 केसेस में मैं ऑडिट बिल्कुल एक्सेप्ट नहीं करूंगा. या आपकी और अनडिस्प्यूटेड ऑडिट फीस पेंडिंग है, और दूसरा आपका रिमूवल सही है. अगर आप ये 2 ऑब्जेक्शन लेते हो तो मैं ऑडिट एक्सेप्ट नहीं करता हूँ. नहीं तो दुनिया का कोई भी ऑब्जेक्शन मुझे ही ऑडिट एक्सेप्ट करने से मना नहीं कर सकता. मैंने आपको कम्युनिकेट करना था, कर दिया. Now the point is कि sometimes in case of bank audit happens कि बैंक ऑडिट बोलता है जी जल्दी से एक्सेप्टेंस भेजो. अरे सर, जल्दी से एक्सेप्टेंस कैसे भेजूं? प्रेडिसेसर को तो कम्युनिकेट करने दो. बैंक ऑडिट के अंदर प्रेडिसेसर को कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर दे रहे हो आप, मुझको बोल रहे हो जल्दी से भेज दो. कहां से भेज दूं? प्रेडिसेसर को तो कम्युनिकेट करने दो. We have an explanation under this new code of ethics that अगर कोई बैंक ऑडिट या ऐसे कोई टाइम बाउंड ऑडिट है जिसके अंदर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि अपॉइंटमेंट अपने को एक्सेप्ट कर लेना चाहिए, तो आप है ना कंडीशनल एक्सेप्टेंस दे दो। बैंक को बोलो वी आर एक्सेप्टिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर असाइनमेंट सब्जेक्ट टू एनी ऑब्जेक्शन विच इज रेज्ड बाय आवर प्रेडिसेसर, ताकि अगर प्रेडिसेसर कोई ऑब्जेक्शन ले तो हम वहां से रिजाइन, वहां से हम उसको छोड़ दें। सो कंडीशनल एक्सेप्टेंस का एक पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट has been introduced in this new code of ethics. That is very, very important. Some examples also given that if premises logged, but your letter went and came back, no problem. You complied with clause number 8. Firm's registered address was not there, no problem. If a letter went and came back to you, that they undelivered because wrong address, it was not your fault. आपने अपना काम किया. That is the point where we need to communicate with the predecessor. Now comes that what else has been changed in that. So there has been changed as a multidisciplinary partnership and corporate level of partnership where Ranjit Bhai is going to discuss with that. So important is that if you have any queries on that, I will really love to address that query. Query relating to this, I love to address.
Sir, can we do query at the last? Possible?
Yeah, we can have.
Ranjit Bhai?
What time I have available for that? Ranjit Bhai is there to deliberate on that.
No, you can continue 10-15 minutes more.
No, sir, I cannot encroach your time. That's why. So I will just take one more topic relating with the permission of Ranjit Bhai. That is advertising. Nowadays, social media advertising is a big issue. And that big issue is such a big issue. Before I'm going back again to clause number 6, clause number 7. These are the, after tender, we have clause 6 and clause 7. Now, activities. In the activities, we are very much concerned about we are very much concerned about, sorry, the slide is not containing that particular point. We are concerned about these social media advertising. Like after coming up of GST, it is such a revolution that whether a person is a chartered accountant or he is not a chartered accountant or somebody who has knowledge of GST became GST guru. And this particular era, everyone had started his channel. Everyone is giving advices, free advices over a YouTube channel, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Zoom Live. I will be live from this to this time. Anybody can ask and anybody can ask me any question and I will revert. Whether this is solicitation of client or professional business, yes. Yes. It's very clear. It's solicitation. सर क्या मैं YouTube चैनल नहीं बना सकता? बनाइए. क्या मैं YouTube चैनल पे अपने वीडियोस नहीं डाल सकता? डालिए. लेकिन क्या अपनी वेबसाइट को आप एडवर्टाइज कर सकते हो? नहीं, तो आप इस YouTube चैनल को भी एडवर्टाइज नहीं कर सकते। क्या मैं अपने YouTube में ये बोल सकता हूँ कि सब्सक्राइब माय चैनल? नहीं। क्या आप अपनी वेबसाइट के लिए दुनिया भर में ईमेल भेज के बोल सकते हो कि आप मेरी वेबसाइट को देखिए? नहीं। सो यू कांट डू एट YouTube also. You can't do at Facebook also. You can't do at Instagram also. Can't. Whatever guidelines are made by ICI over the website will be as it is applicable over all YouTube channels and all. Sir, I am not in YouTube and all. I want to be on WhatsApp itself. I made a broadcast list. Great, sir. Who are they? There in broadcast list. My clients only. Oh, sir, what a wonderful work you are doing. Your clients only. Yeah. You are educating them on whatever the updates are there. Yes. They are all your clients. Yeah. Good, sir. इससे बेस्ट तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता मेरे क्लाइंट को अपडेट करने से. Wonderful. Who are the others in the broadcast list? All chartered accountants. No problem, sir. Sharing knowledge with professional brother is a very good thing. Do it, sir. But now tell me, you are broadcasting to every Tom, Dick and Harry that these are the updates. Whatever number you get from somewhere, ये businessman है, उसको भी ले लिया. Sir, you cannot broadcast your updates directly to any of the persons. अब इनडायरेक्टली पे तो कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है कि वो किसी के थ्रू कहीं पहुंच गया आपका राइटअप किसी के पास, वो तो कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. बट यस, वी कैन नॉट डू दैट. जीएसटी चैनल का नाम आपने रख लिया जीएसटी सेवियर. सर नहीं सर, आपके चैनल का नाम वही वेबसाइट गाइडलाइंस एज इट इज एप्लीकेबल हो जाएंगे. आपकी वेबसाइट का नाम हो सकता है टैक्स कॉर्नर, टैक्स सेवर, टैक्स इवेडर, कुछ हो सकता है नहीं ना, वही होगा जो आपकी फर्म का नाम होगा. द सेम नेम विल बी कंटिन्यू. So same guidelines will be applicable over all social media advertisements, that we should not solicit our client. Can you send your firm's profile through WhatsApp to one-on-one basis to my known contacts? Sir, if they ask you to send profile, you can very well send profile, but sending profile to all known and unknown people, even known people, they are prospective client of yours. You cannot reach to them. It's not allowed. Your website is there. Even you cannot circulate the name of your website. So that would be, Anil bhai, that would be a misconduct, I must say. So we cannot. One more question was there from Mukesh bhai. Can an auditor accept audit assignment if NOC of the previous auditor of audit and other fees? Sir, I am talking about statutory audit fees. I am not talking about any other fees. I am accepting statutory audit, and if that statutory audit fees is pending, I will not accept the audit. Strictly, you just go and see that particular Council General guideline, you will get the idea what I'm saying. I am statutory auditor of ABC Company Limited, and I referred Asim Trivedi for internal audit. Can I share referral fees from Asim? Yes, why not? If I am chartered accountant, you are chartered accountant, we chartered accountants can share each other. There's no, not at all. There is no restriction, unless I am chartered accountant and you are chartered accountant too. Two practicing chartered accountant can share their respective fees, but don't do this with employee of a company who is a chartered accountant. Suppose one person is chartered accountant employee of a company. You are saying him, give me internal audit. I will share 10% fees with you. That will be straightforward misconduct for him also and for you also. That is the point. So this is what on my part I want to share with you, some glimpses of the code of ethics, which emerges out as right now with us. So I'm very much thankful to the branch to give me such an opportunity to interact with all the people here. And now, Ranjit Bhai, all stage is yours. And now you have to uh, throw light upon the multidisciplinary partnership and all. So I will hand over mic to the co-host. Thank you, sir. Ranjit Bhai, thank you. And Agarwal ji, I'm really very thankful to you for inviting me. I was not available on calls because most of the time I'll be in studio and recording for something. So, but still, please, I beg apologies for the not contacting you on time, but I am on time on today's seminar. So that
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Now I would request Sri Ranjit Agarwal ji to start his deliberation.
I think uh, Asim ji for the.
Disconnect and reconnect once again if means problem solves.
Yeah.
So should I start now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please.
So thank you, Asim ji, for the wonderful some highlights of this code of ethics given by you in the brief. Jain ji, Rajesh ji, Syam, Delia ji, all the office bearer of the DTPA and the members of these professions. Good evening to all of you. So as Asim ji has deliberated some of the important aspects, so taking forward his talk, I will also discuss some of the further new initiative of this code of ethics. Since the slide is not working, so let me start like friend, this new code of ethics till 30th June 2020, we had our code of ethics 2009, and we had not been able to align our code of ethics with the international code of ethics since last 10-12 years. So last year we have aligned our code of ethics with international code of ethics, and now we have code of ethics 2020 from 1st July 2020. So what are the new changes? As some changes has been brought by the SIMG. Earlier we have only one volume part A and part B of the Code of Ethics 2009. Now this part A reflects the international best practice we have aligned with our Indian law suitable to domestic provision has been aligned in part A, which we have now renamed as a volume 1. Volume 2 basically is a part B, which is called CA Act, or there are 34 clauses in our CA Act, part A and part B, schedule 1 and schedule 2. So these two schedules comprise of 34 clauses. The commentary of these 34 clauses, what you can do, what you cannot do, there are advertisement guidelines, so many council decisions, all are comprised in volume 2. And we have also come out with volume 3 this year, which talks about what are the important disciplinary committee decisions or council decisions from 1949 to 2019, last 70 years. There are 484 important case law which has been compiled in our volume 3, which are in always search mode. Like it has been divided on clause wise, heading wise, subject wise. So any problem if you encounter while discharging your duty as a true and fair view. So you can search that line and all the 20-30 case law related to that provision can come to your table, like how to communicate with the previous auditor, non-payment of a stipend to the article is a professional misconduct, solicitation, advertisement guideline, all these issues which we are, whether internal auditor can be done by statutory auditor, all the issues, if you confronted any problem, you can search this line and all the case law also come to your table. That is volume 3. So all these 3 volumes are there in soft copy. You can download free of cost. It is there. There are some provisions of this volume which has been deferred for the time being because of the pandemic and other issues. One is Asim ji already said 15% clause already deferred. Taxation service, like if you are an auditor of a listed company, valuation work you cannot do, or you can represent your client when the amount is disputed amount is very large or substantial, and you cannot represent your client beyond court. All these provisions has been deferred. One more important provision is NOCLAR, non-compliance of other laws and regulations. We have SA 250, which since 2009, which talks about financial non-compliance of the laws and regulations, which right now also you are reporting your audit report. NOCLAR has added over and above that, if you in the course of audit, if you come across any non-compliance of any law done by that company for which you have done the audit, and this non-compliance you have encountered while doing the audit, then you cannot close your eyes. You cannot say, this is not my scope of work, I will not comment. No, this NOCLAR provision says in those cases also, it is your duty to bring these facts to the knowledge of the management. If the management does not listen, then you have to come to bring these facts to the respective regulatory agencies. This is the new provision in our code of ethics of NOCLAR. And one more important aspect, that this NOCLAR provision is equally applicable to member in industry. So suppose a chartered accountant is working in a company and he is aware of some of the non-compliance of the laws by that company. Now that chartered accountant cannot say ki I am not aware. If he is aware and later it was established that that CA in a company as an employee was aware of some of the non-compliance, so it is his duty now to bring these facts to the management first. If the management does not listen to the auditor second, if the auditor does not listen to the respective regulatory agency third, so the hierarchy has been given in our code of ethics. So this NOCLAR provision, because of the various fraud is happening across the corporate world, and you are an auditor and you are also not properly informed by the management of the various things happening in that company, that also that CA in industry will be equally responsible for this non-compliance. It will be a professional misconduct. So this NOCLAR provision is going to have a huge ramification in our audit profession in the days to come. But because of the pandemic, this has been deferred for the time being, but sooner or later it will come. So this 15% clause, NOCLAR, and the taxation service, these 3 provisions has been deferred for the time being in our new code of ethics. 5 kinds of threat, Simji has already discussed: self-interest threat, self-review threat, advocacy, familiarity, and intimidation. All these kinds of threats are very, very important. These are the part and parcel of our code of ethics. And now a very innovative way of dealing with these threats has also been prescribed. You just first identify the threats. And if you are convinced that you can bring these threats to the acceptable level, then you can continue with the assignment. But if you are not able to identify and address these threats and bring down to the acceptable level, then the third stage is that then either you consult your professional body, and if that is not happening, then you have to withdraw from the assignment. Giving an example of this familiarity threat, like spouse of a CA, if he is a CEO or a director of finance in a company, so that company, you cannot do the audit of that company. Your ex-partner has resigned from a firm and joined a company in a senior position. Whether you can do the audit of that company? No. There are so many, like if you are, DTP is organizing a seminar and you are an auditor of a company. Now you are approaching the client to give sponsorship for some of the event of the DTPA, then this is also a threat, because your independence is compromised, because of your position you are bringing those sponsorship from your audit client, which he or she is not entitled to. This very interesting case came in the PSU audit. One of the central statutory auditor has requested a PSU bank to give a sponsorship for a particular seminar, and the bank has given a 5 lakh rupees sponsorship on the request of the central auditor to a sponsored event. And in the note sheet, the bank has written, on the request of the central statutory auditor, we have given this 5 lakh rupees to this particular sponsorship event. The matter went to the disciplinary committee, and the auditor was held guilty of the professional misconduct, because he cannot use his position to influence your audit client to give some favor to somebody else. In a Holi, Deepavali, birthday, anniversary, we are getting gifts from the client. If the amount is substantial, then this is also a threat, because you cannot accept the substantial amount of gift from your audit client on the occasion of this various anniversary, Holi, Deepavali, birthday and occasions. These are also has been mentioned in our code of ethics as a threat. There are so many examples are there, like in a tender document, if you are quoting a low fees, which you are yourself aware that in this fees you cannot justify the compliance of the auditing and accounting standard. So in that fees, if the fees is so low, it is a self-interest threat. And the code of ethics says you cannot quote these kind of fees. And we have our tender monitoring group. Our institute has the permission to ask from you a cost sheet on what basis you have quoted such a low fees. And so many disciplinary proceedings also going on. Some are already on the basis of the complaint also. So these kind of ethics cannot be in a black and white everything, but we have our code of ethics and so many. And if you see the NFRA order, just read any one order of NFRA, which is on the NFRA website, 88-page order. They have, while pronouncing a judgment, they have mentioned all these kind of threats. 5 kinds of threat, 5 fundamental principles. What is international threat? What is standard of auditing? What are accounting standard? What is company law? All the mixture of all these issues they are debating, and then they are passing a judgment. But we have recourse also in these kind of threats. The code of ethics says you identify the threat and try to minimize this threat. Like suppose we have SQC1. SQC1 says Standard of Quality Control 1, which has come in our institute 2009. Now, if you are an auditor of a listed company, then after 7 consecutive or cumulative 7 years of audit of that company, next 2 years you cannot be the auditor of that company if you are auditor of a listed company. So 2-year cooling is mandatory after 7 years, 7 plus 2. But that does not mean that you have to withdraw from the assignment. Our code of conduct SQC1 says in those cases after 7 years, your another partner of the same firm can be the audit partner, engagement partner of that company. You who have signed last 7 years cannot be the auditor in the 8th year. So 8th and 9th year you have to withdraw. Your another partner can be the audit partner sign, and from 10th year onward you can continue. So these are the threats, and these are the how to minimize this threat has also been mentioned in our code of ethics. You are going to you have been invited by a company in a board meeting in Goa as an auditor. Now you want to take your spouse along with you in that board meeting. Now there are 2 aspects. If the client is paying the expenditure of your spouse, then it is a threat. But if you are paying the expenditure of the spouse and taking her along with you in that meeting, that is the redressal of that threat. You have tried to minimize those to the acceptable. That is acceptable, and you can go ahead. So these kind of 5 kinds of threat and way out has been mentioned in our code of ethics. 3 volume I have explained to you. Administrative service, Asim ji was telling, now you being an auditor, being a taxation service, all these we are doing. With some exception, it is permissible. But now we have come out in expressly written that those kind of services which are in normal and routine in nature, which there is no professional judgment is required, those kind of services can also be provided to the same audit client by the same auditor, like filing of the various kind of returns with the consent of the client, because filing of return is just a compiling of the historical data and just uploading on the website through your signature. So all the GST return, income tax return, ROC return, TDS return has been permitted to the auditor of the same audit client. It has been now expressly written in our code. So this will help. This will help our 99% SMP practice. In our institute, there are 90,000 firms. Out of 90,000 firms, 72% are proprietorship. There are 27% firms which are 10 partners and less. So 99% of the 90,000 firms are below 10 partner proprietorship. So this administrative service provision will help these 99% firm so that they can discharge their duty with in true and fair view, even though they are involved in compiling and uploading some data of the returns, but no professional judgment or consultancy is permitted. This is the one aspect. Then a very important provision in our new code of ethics, resignation, clause 8, part 1, schedule 1, Asimji talks about communication with the previous auditor. Now in this same clause, a new para has been added. Okay, if you have resigned from a company and the incoming auditors comes and write you for the communicate with to you for the permission to start the audit. At the same time, if the incoming auditor writes to the previous auditor, please let me know what are the non-compliance you are aware in that company. Please let me know. This is the request by the incoming auditor to the previous auditor. So our new paragraph in this new clause says, if the previous auditor is aware of the some of the non-compliance in that company and the incoming auditor requests him writing to please provide these non-compliance, then this is the duty of the previous auditor to supply this information to the incoming auditor diligently. So you cannot say I am not aware. If you are aware as a previous auditor, you have to provide this information to the new. You cannot say now because of preoccupation I have resigned, because there are so many resignations taking place in this corporate world. This paragraph will have some savior in the sense that now after this paragraph, everybody will start writing to the previous auditor, please also let me know what are the non-compliance you are aware you have encountered. So he can always say whatever I was aware, I have already reported in my audit report. But still, there are some issues or some facts which are aware and he has not reported in the audit report. These things has to be also be provided to the incoming auditor diligently. There is two more important issues we will discuss, like management multidisciplinary part, MDP. Multidisciplinary partnership is a provision which already have in our CA regulation since 2006. We have enabling provision as per regulation 53 and 53B of the CA regulation 88, which says a chartered accountant in practice can have partnership with six, seven kind of professional: company secretary, cost accountant, lawyer, or architect, engineer, MBA. These kind of professionals has been mentioned in our regulation since 2006, that a CA in practice can have partnership with this. They can also share the fees with these kind of professionals. It is an enabling provision in our CA Act since 2006. But what is happening? These professionals' body has not been able to amend their laws, and that's why this partnership is not happening. But recently, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is also interested that at least 3 professional bodies, CS, and of course, because all these 3 has same regulation in their respective acts. So they are saying at least you start with this 3 professional body as a multidisciplinary partners. Others professional body does not have their code of ethics or other, so that issue will come. But 3 professional body immediately can start, and council is under the consideration, it should be started immediately. So this is the one aspect. Another aspect is the corporate form of practice. in 2006, Institute has allowed, like right now we had the provision that a chartered accountant in practice cannot be a full-time director in any company, but he can be independent director, non-executive director. But a corporate form of practice provision has been allowed in 2006, which says if you want to start a company where you want to be a managing director, whole-time director, then there is a provision. The name approval of that company you have to request from the ICI. ICI will give you the name approval. The object clause of that company has to be only one line to deal with the management consultancy service as per section 224 of the CA Act 1949. So what are these management? There are 27 services as per section 224, which talks about these kind of service can be done as a management, like forensic audit, like insolvency, valuation service, India's implementation, due diligence. So many internal or so many services are prescribed there, which you can do in this kind of MCS. So object clause is MCS. The director of this company has to be full-time practicing CA. That can be from your firm, other firm, anybody. They have to be full-time practicing CA. And the shareholder has to be these directors and their relatives. So if you satisfy these 4 conditions, then you can start a management consultancy company as a full-time director or managing director and do. Of course, you cannot do these kind of service to the same audit client of which you are an auditor through your partnership or proprietorship or LLP firm. So the same audit client cannot be catered by this MCS company, but there are other clients whom you are not an auditor can be catered by this management consultancy, which is called a corporate form of practice, and it is already there since 2006. So many companies have been formed in this guideline. Advertisement guideline, Asim ji had mentioned some aspect. Social media was not active in 2009 when this 2009 Code of Ethics was drafted. So now after a gap of 10-12 years, when we have redrafted, we have included social media guideline equally applicable in our advertisement guideline. So whatever website guideline is there, it is equally applicable on our social media. So you can have your firm profile account on your Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or LinkedIn. All these provisions has been permitted, but these subject to the guideline, website guideline, which are applicable to your firm, are equally applicable to this YouTube channel, and all these things you have already listened from the Simji. So now we have our push marketing and pull marketing. So they are also equally applicable in our social media guideline. So we have literally liberated, we have relaxed some of the restrictions which were there. Like now, earlier it was not permissible to mention your firm name while making a presentation or in TV debate or an interview or authoring a book. Your firm name was not earlier permitted. Now we have allowed you can also mention your firm name in addition to your individual name. So this has been now relaxed. There are other relaxations also given, like in your visiting card, you can also have your, if you are an insolvency professional registered valuer, these 2 nomenclature you can also add in your visiting card. Mentioning of the certificate course done from the institute is not permitted, but if you have done diploma like DISA or international taxation, that can be equally permitted to be mentioned in your visiting card. So these are some. You can also have your CSR activity. A firm or individual member equally can do the CSR, but the name of the firm is not permitted. Your individual name can be mentioned while doing that CSR activity. So these are some of the relaxation we have mentioned in our new Code of Ethics. And if you go through these 3 volumes, volume 1, 2, 3, 3 are literally case law compilation. Volume 1 comprise of international practice, suitable to the Indian law, Indian territory. They have been part A, which are volume 1, and volume 2 is all about the CA Act and all these 34 clauses and various council decision guidelines. So our Code of Ethics in many ways are more stringent than international Code of Ethics. So we have a body called IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, where 130 country are the member. India is also one of the founder member of the IFAC. So all these 130 countries have their code of ethics. So our have also our code of ethics, but internationally, when we align our code of ethics with the other international code of ethics, there are some provision in our act which are more stringent than international code of ethics. Like in our India, statutory auditor cannot do the internal audit function in the same year, but internationally it is permitted. We have our restriction on charging of fees on based on the percentage with some exception, but internationally it is permitted. We have our advertisement guideline, website guideline, logo guideline, directory guideline, tender guideline, but nowhere other country these kind of guidelines are there. So in many ways, we have more restrictions to regulate our member in a more better way than other parts of the world. So this is the beauty of our regulation code of ethics, and thanks to our forefather, they have started this code of 1963 when the president was R.C. Cooper. He has introduced this code of ethics in council in 1963. Since then, year after year, we are revising and upgrading to the next level every year. So these are some of the thought process and some of the highlights of our code of ethics. I also discussed the MDP and corporate form of practice and all the tender guideline. Also, we have changed one more line, the minimum fees, which we have received some complaint that regulators are also misusing this guideline by putting ₹1 or 100 rupees as a minimum fees. So we have changed one more line this year that the minimum fees should commensurate with the size, value, volume, and manpower requirement of the work, scope of the work. According to the work, the minimum fees should be mentioned. So this amendment we have done in our tender guideline from 1st July 2020. So these are some of the thought process in new code of ethics. We can take the questions if any issues are there. We are here to resolve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Via.
Thank you, Ranjit ji.
I will take the questions one by one. In the chat box, I see there's question from Mr. Mukesh Kishoria. Can an auditor accept audit assignment if NOC of previous auditor states pending of audit and other fees?
It is already answered by Asim ji.
Already answered. Second is, you already said this also. Can I send my firm's profile to WhatsApp on one-to-one basis to many non-contacts?
Answered. You can
next is from our past president, Analji. I am statutory auditor of ABC Company Limited. I heard Asim Trivedi for internal audit.
Shyam, it is also answered.
It is also answered. Dash Parak, past president. Is the corporate form of practice also subject some same advertising restrictions as the CA firm?
This year we have included corporate form of practice in our advertisement guideline purview. So now they are included.
Okay. Next is DN Agarwal. In case of finding that if two practicing firms interchange clients and share referral fees only between themselves, is threat issue can be said to be resolved?
It will depend on the what sort of case. But if the two CA firm, one is doing X number of year, then Y number of year, another firm, and they are sharing the fees. So that issue has to be, but right now it is permissible. Sharing of fees with the members are permissible as per code of ethics.
Okay. Next is Mr. Anil Agarwal. I have a private limited company in which I am non-executive director and also partner of CM. Can I put signboard of both together at my office building?
No. Because you are a non-executive director in a private limited company is not subject to advertisement guideline. You may be the company can advertise in an annual report and website, that is okay. But you cannot say that I am a partner and this all this. So manipulate and all these are not permissible in this case.
Okay. Last question. Suppose this auditor does not respond to NOCLAR letter or does not give any such information, whether new auditor can rely on this and do not report any NOCLAR?
No, this is the responsibility cast on the previous auditor to supply the information to the incoming auditor if he or she is aware of any non-compliance known to them. So if they are not replying, so it is their problem how the new auditor will come to know. So the new auditor will continue to go ahead, but if later on it was established that the previous auditor was aware, but he has not responded to the incoming auditor, then the professional misconduct proceeding can be initiated to the previous auditor.
Okay. Okay. One more from Sunil Sanaji, past president. Can firm accept audit and assignment earlier done by Deloitte at half the fees? I find half fees charged reasonable.
No, we have in 2006, we had our CA Act prohibited charging of fees lower than the previous auditor. That was till 2006. In 2006, this clause was amended by the CA Act. Now that provision has been repealed. So now charging of fees lower than the previous auditor fees is no more prohibited. So we are silent on this thing. So if we are silent, then you can continue.
Okay. Vikas Bhai has raised his hand. Can I unmute him? You want to ask something?
Yes.
Just a second.
Asim ji is there?
Asim ji.
Asim ji is joining. Asim ji will join in 5 minutes.
Okay.
He has left some technical issue.
Okay.
He will be joining in 5 minutes.
Anybody can unmute and ask directly also, no problem.
Any can unmute themselves and ask question if they want. Just Vikas Bhai, you are unmute.
Yes, thank you, Shyam. Ranjit ji, good evening.
Good evening, because
very nice deliberation by you and Asim ji. I just have a quick question. Like suppose in corporate form of practice, it's almost the same guidelines have to be followed like a CA firm. But suppose if a CA is a non-executive director in a company in which there might be shareholders who are his relatives also and outsiders also, which is permitted by the institute without any specific or general permission. Now, that company may provide any services which are not related to audit or attestation or anything which a CA needs to mandatorily provide. And that company, you said, is allowed to advertise also for that.
Corporate form practice.
No, not corporate form of practice. A normal company in which a CA is a non-executive director. And that company, let's say, is into some business or some services which are not related to chartered accountants domain only. Which are not audit and attestation functions. Can be anything else, which is in the domain of anyone. So in that, for becoming a non-executive director, no permission from institute is required, I believe.
Yes, not required.
Not required. But that company can advertise, but the CA cannot advertise by himself. This is what you meant.
Yes.
But the CA can represent himself as a director on a visiting card.
No.
If he is meeting someone.
This aspect is deliberated that if you are, suppose if you are a director in a Coal India, as a non-executive director in a Coal India, that is permissible and you can be. But we are not saying that you can write in your visiting card as a practicing CA and non-executive director in a Coal India. That we are saying it is not permissible. You are full time in practice. That is your non-executive position where you are getting only sitting fees for your calibration or qualification being a non-executive director. But that is not your profession or that is not a part and parcel of your practice. So that's why it is not permitted to mention anywhere that you are a non-executive director at so places.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I got it.
DN Agarwal ji is also there. I will request him to please speak. Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay, thank you.
Boliye, President sir.
कहाँ सर?
हमारे पास प्रेसिडेंट सर है।
मैं ये बोल रहा था रंजीत जी,
हाँ
जैसे वो नोकलार वाला जो इशू है,
हाँ
ये तो एक परपेचुअल इशू बनते जाएगा. व्हेन इट स्टार्ट्स, आफ्टर डिफरमेंट, व्हेन इट स्टार्ट्स, एवरी ऑडिटर, इनकमिंग ऑडिटर विल इनवेरिएबली राइट टू द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर कि उनको पुराने वाले से जितनी इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाए उसको काम करने में आराम मिलेगा और उस चीज को और डीपली देख सकता है, जान सकता है. तो ये कुछ इसमें परेशानी नहीं होगी काम
नहीं,
करने में?
वो नोकलार अलग है और ये है प्रोवाइडिंग auditor of any non-compliance may aware non-compliance known to the previous auditor, that has to be made available to the incoming auditor.
Now, for example, there are various issues which are legally to be complied with, but which has no financial impact. एक रिटर्न भरना है या कुछ करना है, उसको कोई फाइनेंशियल इफेक्ट नहीं, फॉर्मेलिटी है, वो करना है, वो उन लोगों ने नहीं किया, बट इट इज ए फैक्ट कि उसको करना था, इट इज ए लॉ, करना था, कोई पेनल्टी नहीं है, कुछ नहीं किया उन्होंने. नाउ प्रीवियस ऑडिटर आल्सो लेफ्ट इट, छोड़ दिया, बट इट इज ए नॉन कॉम्प्लायंस. तो नए ऑडिटर तो फिर वो जान ही नहीं पाएगा फिर, अगर वो खुद विजिलेंट नहीं है.
No, agar this paragraph is very clear कि in course of audit, if you encounter any non-compliance as a auditor, then you cannot close your eyes. But if you are not made aware or you have not encountered any such non-compliance suo motu, then it is not your fault. But once you are aware, then you cannot say, I will not comment. That is the objective.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. President is there. I will just unmute him. President, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Ranjit ji, good evening.
Good evening, President.
Is Mr. Trivedi back?
Yes.
Ram?
Mr. Trivedi, come back. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Trivedi. Sorry for joining late. In fact, I was traveling, so just wherever it could connect, my phone could connect. Thereafter, I joined, and when I joined, I was hearing the NOCLAR. Ranjit ji, may I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
Is it practically possible to report all the non-compliances? Because there are small, so many non-compliances. If you're auditing a manufacturing company, there will be a non-compliance.
No, that's why this since right now NOCLAR provision has been deferred for pandemic. But once it will start operational, then it will start.
No, I'm assuming that once it starts, then also is it practically feasible? Because non-compliance would include, supposing one GST return has been filed 5 days delayed, that is also a non-compliance. A credit note has not been uploaded properly, and the time that is also non-compliance. Supposing that PF dues have been paid, but the return has not been filed. That is all.
ये तो सर आप तो कारों में सारा रिपोर्ट करते ही हो ना सर?
नहीं, कारों में जितना है with regard to कारों में था payments का disputed and undisputed.
हाँ.
But as Rian Agarwal ji said that wherever the amount has been paid, but the amount, no financial impact is there. All liabilities have been met. But non-compliance means that non-timely compliance is also no compliance.
Sir, but
so will that tantamount to no compliance?
No. I am saying you.
But we are reporting. We are reporting it under standard on auditing 250 is applicable for non-compliance. There is nothing new in NOCLAR. SA 250 is still there. The same amount of responsibility has been there by standard on auditing 250. So
but I think NOCLAR in addition to 250 also, like suppose environmental law or bribery, sir, or insider trading.
Sir, SA 250 clearly mentions there are two kinds of laws. One which are affecting the financial figures of the enterprise. One which are not affecting the financial figures of the enterprise, but can be there hefty penalty. In these twofold, one which are affecting the financial figures of the enterprise, we need to apply the audit procedures and we need to get the audit evidence. But in case of the other laws, we just need to check whether there is any non-compliance. Can we not take a written representation from the management that they are declaring that there is no non-compliance, is relating to Pollution Control Act, Child Labor Act, Factories Act, Industrial Act, Industrial Dispute Act. If they are solemnly declaring that there is nothing there, verify them from the records of their correspondence with those departments, and their electronic sites are there where we can conclude that. We need not to probe into that. We need not to investigate that. We need not to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence about other laws, but we need to be watchful that is there any non-compliance came to our knowledge. We need to
just to supplement Asim ji, Goyal ji, suppose you are auditing a company, and you are aware that the company is going into the liquidation, going concern issue is there, or company is supposed to go into the liquidation, Insolvency Bankruptcy Act. Would you say I will not comment on it?
No, definitely.
That
issue will comment. But supposing that
नहीं आप समझिए, आप छोटे छोटे इशू में मत जाइए. We are have the larger issue. If an auditor is encountering some non-compliance, so the objective of this provision in addition to 250 says 250 already there, 2009 से है, वो तो already है. लेकिन if the NOCLAR says कि if you have come across any non-compliance while doing the audit, so you cannot say I will not comment. You cannot close your eyes. You cannot go suo moto into investigation and finding the loop white. As Jasim ji say, you can take a declaration for other laws and it's okay.
Okay.
Suppose a building has been constructed of your client, that building is illegal. After 4 floors, 6 floors are illegal. And you are aware. So can you say I will not comment?
No, sometimes the laws are such that state laws, some like we have a country and town planning. When you raise the issue of real estate, there's a town country and town planning act.
ले लो ना, आप management से declaration ले लो.
Bas, that is the best. That is the best suggestion, that you take a management representation that there is no violation.
We are calling written representation from management, and in case of construction contractor, that they have complied with all the RERA provisions.
Right.
Yeah,
सर ऑडिट का जब ऐसे आप पढ़ोगे 250 या जितने हैं ऑलरेडी सारे कवर है. हम लोग अप्लाई कितना करते हैं, दैट इज अप टू अस.
That's true.
So many provisions are already there.
That's true.
So
Shyam, is there any other question?
DN Agarwal ji ने hand raise किया.
I'll just unmute him. Unmute. DN sir.
हाँ सर, रंजीत जी, am I audible, रंजीत जी?
Yes
sir.
एक जैसे मेरे दिमाग में आ रहा है, एक जैसे कॉर्पोरेट कंपनी बना करके सीए फर्म की, और आपने जो कहा कि 27 टाइप्स ऑफ सर्विसेज हम लोग कर सकते हैं, तो उसमें कॉन्सेंट्रेट करने से और अपने इधर फर्म बना करके ऑडिट करने से risk factor only on account of risk factor, where the risk is or responsibility is more.
No, both are two separate working. Like one is the audit profession, auditing work, and the other is non-audit services.
Non-audit services, right?
Which are called non-audit service of management consultancy service. We call it. So, but not, you cannot provide to the not the same client, number one.
Right.
Both have different connotation and different perspective. So depending on your kind of practice you are dealing, it will vary from firm to firm.
Yeah, correct.
The kind of practice or arrangement you have, because in non-corporate form of practice, not necessarily your CA firm partner has to be director. There can be another CA firm partner can be director.
Yeah.
So that is also possible. So you have to work out as per your requirement. But these are the options given by the ICAI to our member.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I request President, sir.
Yes. Thank you,
No more
Asim ji.
questions, please.
Thank you, Ranjit ji, for the nice deliberation. Some part I missed today, but definitely we have a recording, so I'll definitely hear the complete version. But whatever deliberation I could hear out and the question answer session, all the questions were taken up very nicely. A lot of clarity on the new issue and new provisions. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And now I request our General Secretary Rajesh Agarwal ji to propose a formal vote of thanks for the speakers.
Good evening, everyone.
Rajesh, we are not audible. Rajesh Bhaiya? I think his connection is lost.
Sir, I am audible.
Rajesh Bhaiya? Rajesh Bhaiya? I think we are not able to reach Rajesh Bhaiya.
To be close.
Can I?
Sham, yes.
Sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. There was some technical issue, internet problem. On behalf of DTP and myself, I thank both the speaker, my friend C. Ranjit Agarwal, Central Council member of ICI, and special invitee of our association, and C. Asim Trivedi ji from Indore for giving a wonderful deliberation. I thank the all participant, office bearer for joining the webinar. I thank the Information Technology Committee for making a nice arrangement. Thanks to all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Asim ji, for your time and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.